Hello everybody, welcome to another video. Today I will be explaining how I shade my art, along with some internal thoughts I have while doing this. Here you can see my absolutely gorgeous drawing of my character Lily in this pretty dress I found on Pinterest. I already sketched out the drawing and did the line art. Let's begin. So I begin by making a layer under my line art layer and on top of my sketch layer. This will be for the eyes. I prefer to keep the sketch when I'm coloring eyes because I often forget really quickly where the character is looking. But once I map out the area of the iris, I remove the sketch layer as now it is no longer needed. After coloring the base color of the iris, I make a layer and click clipping, which lets me only color inside the layer below it. Then I take my character's lightest shade of the eye and apply it on the bottom of the iris. Afterwards I take the darker shade and apply it to the top. I use the blur tool and blur it until I like it and then lower the opacity. Then I click the merge button, which merges it onto the base color layer. I make another layer and color the pupil and then lower the opacity of it until I like it. I do this because the black is very intense and really blocks my shading on the iris a lot. At least by lowering the opacity you can see the shading. I like to add a little shine in the eye to give the character a little bit of life and then color the rest of the open space white. I normally like to start coloring and shading things one at a time. I start with the smallest to the biggest parts of the drawing first. For this drawing specifically, I chose to shade and color all of her jewelry and characteristics such as her horns. Now we're going to do the dress. I take the color of the dress and use the bucket tool to fill in the space. I then take a darker color and start with the shading. I'm not the type of person to draw out a marker for where the light source is going to be for two reasons. 1. I like to envision the light source in my mind and apply it to my drawing as it makes drawing more fun to me. 2. I'm not a normal person. When I shade, I just place the color where I think it looks right and sometimes completely ignore my light source. But I do shade areas I think need it. For example, here I shade Lily's fat rolls along with her hips and the crease where her leg is. I then lower the darker shading's opacity and create a new layer. This new layer is for the lighter colors. I take a lighter shade of the base color and use my light source to place the lighter color in the areas that need it. I also lower the opacity of the light color and then merge all the layers together. Now we're doing the hair. I shade hair similarly to eyes. I take the base color and use the bucket tool to fill in the space. Then I take the darkest color and place it at the top where the roots of the hair are, and place the lighter color at the tips of the hair. Then I blur the colors together, but I try to use downward strokes as I see many other artists do this, though I am trying to find a better way to shade hair. After lowering the opacity of the hair, I start on the skin. I take the base color of the skin and use the bucket tool. Then I take a shade that is slightly darker than the skin tone and apply it as shadows and definitions. I will then take a color lighter than my base color and apply it in areas that are being hit by light. Now we move on to my least favorite part of shading and coloring the outline. With the outline, it's normally darker than the base color of the skin. Same with the hair. I create a layer above my line art and click clipping and start coloring my linear art. But I have to be very careful with this because it's a tedious process, which makes it my least favorite. I like how throughout this process I made it so she was walking on the red carpet, probably because her BF is a rock star and he specifically wanted her to have a red carpet to strut her stuff. Do these look like those barriers for paparazzi? They look really dumb ATP, but I guess I have to trust the process. These little blob-looking things are gonna be my paparazzi, but they look really goofy. I can't find good brushes for the camera flash, so I had to make it myself. I guess if you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. Also, to create a light effect, I take the airbrush and choose the color of the light and place it over the little star I made. Then I make it into a screen layer and then lower the opacity. I decided to make it nighttime because why not? Most red carpets are during the day. But I guess this one is one of those late night ones. Still can't find a star brush with even spacing. Guess I have to do those individually too. I think it looks stunning so far. Now we have to do the big lighting effects. I want the background to be dark so that it can make Lily pop, but I don't want it too dark because then that will look awful. I take a dark blue and set the layer to overlay and lower the opacity to how I like it. Now I'm going to add some lighting to Lily. I'm using the airbrush tool for this process. I take a orangish color as I imagine those really big disco lights they have on the ground are orange. I'm drawing these two yellow blocks to simulate that they are pointing at her. Now I'm adding additional shading to the body to help her stand out. I first take a white and highlight areas close to the light source. Then I pick a bluish color and cover the rest of her with the color to help make her pop more. And now we're pretty much done. The only thing left now is my signature. Now, for the reveal.